If Smash had EX moves, it would be a wrap. But then it hit me. I was like, wait a second. That's true. In those other games, they have life bars. Smash is knockback based. And it's really, really interesting when I think about this mute video. So this is where like the mute video comes in, right? Because he kind of has like a really good point here, right? Like let's listen to like what the goal of Smash is, right?
It's called killing people, okay? The goal of the game is to take 3 stocks before someone else takes your stocks, right?
Okay. So I was sitting there, right? And I go, they do have to take your stocks. Now, with like fighting games, right? There's a health bar, there's a life total. Sometimes it's different for each character. Sometimes it's just the same all across the cast. Like for fighters, for example, Dragon Ball Fighters, I'm pretty sure the health total is 10,000 across the board. But then if you play a game like Street Fighter, like Akuma has like one of the lowest health totals, and like the big bodies like Abigail and stuff usually have like higher health totals. So the amount of damage you have to do changes. At the end of the day, it's still a bar of life, and you can't exceed that bar of life. In Smash, you can live as long as you don't get hit by moves that have a lot of knockback, or at least enough knockback to KO you. And it's really, really interesting that I don't see people talk about that often. Like, I'll see people talk about like, oh, like Wolf is so easy to kill with because like Wolf has back air and like Wolf's smash attacks are strong. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, how are you getting hit by raw back air? Like they have to like make a play in order for that to happen, right? Like they have to read you, or you have to make a mistake and like just not be aware of the fact that Wolf is looking for back air at, you know, whatever, 90, 100 plus, right? Like Wolf starts looking for that. And in other games like Street Fighter, you can see them sitting across the stage like throwing projectiles the whole time, just fireballs, just Hadouken, Sagat's across the stage, Tiger Shot, like for like not minutes because the timer is shorter in that stage or in that game. But you can see them doing that for literally like 20 seconds at a time. And it's because even if you hit with like 4 of those out of the 50 that you've done, that still takes out a significant portion of your life bar. In this game, in Smash, if you get hit by like Wolf Laser, for example, let's just, because we're on the topic of Wolf, right? Let's say you get hit by Wolf Laser like 10 times, right? I'm not factoring the scaling in. I can't do the math off the top of my head, but it'll do like roughly 90 damage, right? 85, 90, something like that with scaling. I don't know. But let's say you get hit with Wolf Laser 200 times. Doesn't matter. You just be at 999%. Actually, does Wolf Laser kill? Let's check for a second. I actually don't know. What if it just actually killed at like 999 or something? That would actually blow my mind. But I doubt it kills. Let's check. Boom. It's up. Okay, I thought it wouldn't. Sometimes you gotta check your own knowledge. Like you gotta humble yourself sometimes. But yeah, like you could get hit by this move over and over and over, and it still doesn't lead to you winning. Where if you're playing like any other fighting game that has like a bar of health, you get hit by projectiles too much, you just lose. Like if you like spin the whole game, like you're fighting Dalsim, and like let's just say his limbs are projectiles, even though you know you can hit them, right? You get tapped over and over by these moves that do like 10 or something or 20 or whatever, and let's say their health totals like 500. I don't know Street Fighter numbers, I'm sorry, don't like attack me. That adds up in that game, right? And like there is no point where you have to knock them like super far off the stage. There's no point where like you have to hit them with like a super strong attack. You could just take your time and chip away at them literally the entire game and you'll just win. But you can't do that in Smash. You actually have to take the stock at some point. And I think that skill is like lost somewhere in like teaching people the game. I think a lot of times I'm sitting there and I'm like, okay, playing someone, we're chilling, we're going back and forth. I take the first stock. I'm like, okay, like I'm at 100%. How are you gonna take my stock? And like, they're on Wolf and they're just like doing this. And I'm sitting there, or they're doing this, and I'm like, are you supposed? I'm just supposed to walk into that. Like that's your grand plan for how you're gonna take my stock. You're just gonna assume that I am not aware of like your kill options, so I'm just gonna get hit by this. Like if that's me in the corner, go ahead, grab me. It's all good. Not at 999, obviously. I explode. But let's say we're at a smooth what? What should we go for? 180? Let's say, oh, Pichu might die. Let's say we're at a smooth 150, because Pichu might actually die. I would rather hold shield in the corner, right? And not get hit by this. Not get hit by this, right? Because these would kill. Forward air probably won't kill, depending on good DI. Like, I would not get hit by these. I would not get hit by F-tilt. I would not get hit by dash attack. None of your smash attacks, right? Like, I would just hold shield. And does this kill Pichu? Boom. Doesn't even kill Pichu at 150. Right? So now, suddenly, you're on Wolf, and you're like, wait a second. I have to figure out how to kill. Like, they're not just running into my moves. I'm not just like... I'm not getting these free dash attacks. I'm not getting all the things that kill people. Like, how do you do it? This skill is something that is necessary to learn. Like, if you don't know how to take people's stocks, games drag on for longer. Your opponent gets more opportunities. You think Riddles is very good at securing the kill? I think Riddles is very, very good at securing the kill, but I think his character is also very good at securing the kill. Which brings me back to this mute video, actually. So he has like a list of characters, or like normal, and then it's like characters that are like win tier, right? Because as me said, like the goal is to like take stocks, right? So if we go back here, right, we can see like all these different characters, right? Like Kazuya is in win tier because, bro, like you get uppercut, you just die, like you lose your stock, right? Just like a really interesting thing to think about. But they don't have to like necessarily gain that skill of like hitting them to higher percents. How do I get the kill, right? Generally how it goes is I land this one move, you die. I don't think Game & Watch falls into that category. I think like you need to do a little bit more. I think you need to put in a lot more effort in some scenarios with Game & Watch. But like Steve, like if I'm Steve, right? If I'm playing as Steve, you know what my mind is thinking? It's like, all right, I'm gonna minecart, I'm gonna back air, I'm gonna down air, I'm gonna forward smash. One of these moves is gonna work, and I'm gonna kill you. That at some point, like, I have very little risk. I'm just gonna take the stock. Like, when I'm on Wolf, I'm sitting there, I'm like, they're at 163. They're not getting hit by any attack. Back throw might not even kill Pichu cross stage with good DI. Like we were at 160 and back throw's not killing, right? So suddenly it's like, bro, how in the world am I gonna get this stock? And it's just so interesting that, and if you were to play like any other fighting game, you don't think about something like that. I have not gotten hit one time. This could be an example. Wolf could be a 0. That Luigi could be at 198 because you're so terrified of getting grabbed, and then you go for like, oh man, I think I got this read, and you like go for like a dash attack, and they shield it, and then you just die, and it's like, oh, I guess they outplayed me, right? And it's like, yeah, they did, because they were better than you at taking the stock. Unfortunately, some characters just lend that to you, right? Like Luigi lends that to you, Kazuya lends that to you, like a lot of characters in this game lend that to you. But the thing about most of those characters is that doesn't determine what's good, right? And that's why Mute says something in his video like, oh, this doesn't determine like strength of a character, it just determines like how easy it is to win with them, right? Because like they're naturally just better at taking stocks. They just are. But also there's a lot of weaknesses. Luigi is extremely slow. Luigi's airspeed is abysmal. His landing options are awful. His recovery is trash. His forward-facing buttons are pretty decent, but they're not that great. His grounded buttons are good, but they don't have a lot of range. You have the slow character who's very stubby. It's really hard to get in for the one thing, and mind you, the one thing that we need is grab, right? So then we get the grab. If we don't get the grab, it feels like our character is like very limited, because then suddenly Luigi has to get to like 100 something percent, and then maybe do like down throw tornado, or like nair tornado, or nair back air at the ledge, or down air back air, you know, whatever, like however Luigi gets KOs. There's one thing that Mute didn't mention, which I found really interesting, is like, yes, part of the way to win in Smash is taking like 3 stocks, right? That's the traditional way. Oh, we're playing 3 stocks, like if you take their 3 stocks and they don't take yours, you win. But you could also just time them out. Now, obviously that's like more frowned upon, but it is a win condition that people tend to forget. That's why characters like Sonic are really good, right? Because Sonic has multiple win conditions. Sonic can take all 3 of your stocks, or Sonic can just sit across the stage and make you RPS the entire game, and it's lit. Like, and you just have to be better than them at RPS. Some characters don't, but there's very few that don't. Steve is another one, right? Sit across the stage. Hey, good luck. It is what it is. You mess up, you're gonna take infinite. You don't mess up, and you don't want to engage. All right, I'm across the stage. And that is also a way of winning. So these characters like Luigi, who are really good at taking stocks, aren't necessarily one of the best characters, because if you run into like a sword that wants to play keep away literally the entire game, if they decide to time you out, then you'll probably just lose. How do you learn how to kill, right? Let's say you're not playing like any character in this like win tier list, like any character above normal. Let's say you're not playing them, right? Let's say you're playing, why did I say it that way? Let's say you're playing any character in the normal tier, right? You have to, okay, also another side note, I'm not going to say I agree with every character that Mute put in normal, because I see Bolith over there, and I just, like, bro, like, yeah, anyway, shield breakers, like, all the, yeah, but, let's say you're playing one of these normal characters, right, and you have to figure out a way to kill. Generally, when you're playing neutral, your brain has to, like, switch gears. You don't sit there and you think to yourself, all right, man, it's time to start throwing out the kill moves, like, right? Like, some people do, and they never get stocks against like better players. What it should turn into for the most part is usually have like pokes or like situations that set up good situations for you, right? So, okay, let's say you're playing Wolf and you don't really want to go for the back air here, because you're like, I might not get the timing right, like it's a lot going here. They might just like do nair, they might do forward air, I don't want to risk it, whatever. But you're on the ground and you've like been moving around and you notice that they jump a lot. Like, well, one way you could do it is you could just go, all right, I'm just gonna try to anti-air. Boom, anti-air leads to stock. It's lit. Simple way, you don't even need to think about it. We're not like doing anything crazy in neutral, we're just playing the game. So how are some ways to kill? I tell people the most common way to get a stock is you ledge trap them. I think it's very important to learn how to ledge trap people, because it's a very, very, very common way to secure stocks. You notice like a habit on the way that they like to get off ledge. This Pichu's not doing it. It's so sad. What's good, Stitchy? But maybe even if they aren't good at recovering, right? You figure something out. But because their options are so limited on the ledge, right? Like so limited. You get it right. Like even if you're not like super good at ledge trapping, I suggest you definitely work on it. But because their options are so limited, like just figure it out. Like, okay, F tilt kills at this percent. You can start with that, right? Okay, I know F tilt kills at this percent. So when they do neutral get up, I'm gonna F tilt. Let's say you're playing against someone who's very aware of that, right? Like, okay, well, they're standing at this position. Obviously, they're looking for F tilt. I'm gonna jump. Well, suddenly, this is where your brain starts activating. This is where like conditioning and like layers comes in. You're standing here. They go. I'm gonna jump or whatever. I can't make them jump though. But like, I'm gonna jump, and let's say they jump, then you would do back air, right? Or maybe you're not like 100% sure. Boom, you go for an air, and it's like, okay, well now I know that when they're standing here, when I'm standing here, they think I'm looking for F tilt, but actually I'm looking for back air, right? Or maybe I'm not even looking for back air. Maybe you've hit them so many times that their percent is this high, and when they jump, you go for rising up air, right? I see this happen very often with Wolf. They go for this rising up air on jumps. A lot easier to time the back air. Back air is a little bit of a proactive thing. You can kind of react with up air. Boom, you got a stock, right? And it's like, all you did was figure out like one thing, and then you like worked from there. And that's what's really important, like in any form of Smash, is like figuring out one thing and then working from there. So boom, like you figure out ledge trapping. Maybe you're not super confident. All right, wow, we gotta stop. Maybe we're not good at timing this, and maybe we like to do ledge trapping like that, right? However it is, you figure out how to ledge trap. You're more likely to get a stock if you're better at ledge trapping. But that requires you to take neutral wins. Like, you don't have to try to kill them in neutral. You just think, okay, well, how can I get them to the ledge? Boom. You got them to the ledge. Suddenly, your brain is just going to go, oh, I have an opportunity to take a stock. And you're not thinking about taking a stock in neutral. You're still thinking about, like, learning the opponent in neutral, right? Still trying to figure out, like, how they play around your kill moves, how they play around, how they just play in general when they're at high percent. Like, you learn a lot of things while you're doing that, and then you have a way, like, in your brain to get a stock. Okay, boom, I got him to ledge. Like, I have a chance to get the stock. It's not guaranteed, but like, I have a chance.